Okay. The next presentation is going to be our study guide or a list of key terms that we'll use for the first test, first unit of quarter one. I'm going to call this 1A. It's historical thinking, North Carolina geography, and the first Americans. On the slides that follow, you've got 11 words on your list where it says explanation and description. And I want you to copy word for word. I want you actually to summarize or put things in your own words so that you can understand it better, that you can remember it best. Okay. First term, first key word, a primary source. Primary source is an original first-hand eyewitness account by somebody who was at an event, and usually a primary source was created very close to the time the event was happening. If it goes farther on, it becomes less credible and a less usable source. Example of a primary source might include a marriage certificate. Here's a picture of the United States Constitution, which we'll talk about later in the quarter in Unit 1C. And here's a number of different primary sources. An autobiography, because it's written by a person about their own life. Letters to and from people would be a primary source. Minutes to a meeting. A memoir, so again, something you write about your own life. Speeches. An email might even be an example of a primary source. Artifacts, events from a time. Photographs, a journal or diary entry, an interview with somebody, if it was an interview that occurred close to the time that something happened, eyewitness accounts, and even data and statistics would all be examples of primary sources. A secondary source might include secondhand information or summarized interpretations of other primary and secondary sources. So primary sources occur right at the time. First-hand accounts, secondary sources are collections of first-hand accounts that are both summarized and interpreted as opposed to just raw fact and raw information. Examples of secondary sources might include textbooks, encyclopedias. Wikipedia would be a secondary source. Biographies, reference books. Sometimes a newspaper article, if it was by somebody who wasn't present at the actual event. If somebody saw an event firsthand and wrote about it in the newspaper, then it's a primary source. Next, we're going to look at 4 slides on the different regions of North Carolina. The mountains are first. We know that's the westernmost region of North Carolina, characterized by, naturally, the mountains. Has a lower population than other parts of the state. Key places in the mountains include Asheville and Mount Mitchell. The economy there is focused on tourism, outdoor activities, art, and restaurants. Here's a picture of a small part of the Blue Ridge Parkway, which we talked about during the North Carolina geography presentation with the mountains. Next is the Piedmont. Piedmont includes Research Triangle and RTP. The central part of North Carolina includes Durham, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, RTP, and Charlotte. The economy in the Piedmont is historically based mostly on manufacturing, a little bit of farming, mostly subsistence farming, and manufacturing is mostly how the Piedmont made its money throughout its history. Today, the economy in the Piedmont is based on technology, education, and research. Next, going from west to east, is the coastal plain. Coastal plain has low, flat land with good soil. The coastal plain has been a major farming area for both tobacco and food crops. So tobacco was one cash crop grown in the coastal plain. Cotton was another cash crop that has been grown in the coastal plain. Today, those crops are still grown, and it's also known for good fishing, barbecue, and golfing. Main cities in the coastal plain include Rocky Mount and Greenville. Here is a picture of a tobacco farm. Next, the Tidewater. Easternmost section of North Carolina includes the coast and beach and the Outer Banks. Wilmington is a major city, and the region's economy is driven by tourism and beaches and shipping. Here, this thin part off the coast is the Outer Banks. And we've got, as you see, ocean and a river leading out to it. Some of the land up close to the Tidewater. And the last 5 slides are on Native Americans, this one on Native American culture, and then the last 4 on the 4 different North Carolina Native American groups. Don't forget the first Americans came to the North American continent by crossing a land bridge. Native Americans generally have a deep respect for nature. Their survival depended on adapting to their surroundings and environment, and they often told stories to explain things. Native Americans believed that land belongs to the group and not individuals. Europeans, on the other hand, believe the opposite. Native Americans also believe in conserving resources and using only what they need. And if, for example, an animal was killed, they would use every last part of that animal some way, somehow. The Algonquin tribe was the North Carolina Native American tribe who lived in the Tidewater region. Their name means our allies. Here's a picture of what one of their villages might look like. Tuscarora was a North Carolina Native American tribe who lived in the coastal plain region. Their name means hemp gatherers. Catawba was a North Carolina Native American group who lived in the Piedmont region of North Carolina. Their name means where the river divides. The Cherokee were a North Carolina Native American tribe who lived in the mountains region, and their name means the principal people, or people who live in caves. That is all the slides. Hope you have summarized everything. Take your time. Again, this information will be very useful in helping to study for your upcoming test.